everyone. Thank you so much for joining live today. We're here as a very special series that we're launching at the moment, which is the Get Inspired series. So we're very lucky to have Ayn here today. She has a really inspirational story to share with you guys. So, we have more or less 45 minutes, but we're going to try and cover just the most interesting parts of her story. So Ayn is the founder of Morena the Label. She's a social activist. She's an entrepreneur who has a lot of different passions. She's also a TikTok celebrity. She also actually teaches people in the Philippines how to speak English in a way that actually kind of sounds more English. And so she does a lot of really interesting work, and we're here today to talk about her e-commerce story. And what I think is really interesting about her story is that the story that she has if starting her e-commerce business comes from a lot of the ups and downs that she experienced in life. So welcome, Ayn. We're really, really happy to have you today and to start talking about your story.
Thank you so much for having me. So the reason I guess that I'm here today is so I can tell you guys about Morena the Label and what we've done so far for our e-commerce journey. So I guess to give you guys a background, Morena the Label is a Filipino clothing brand that celebrates morena skin, and that is essentially brown skin. In the Philippines and I guess in Asia, it's pretty colorism is a huge thing. The skin whitening industry is $1 billion industry, and for the longest time, we have had that beauty standard. And what Morena the Label does really is it started out as a social media movement. It started out from my personal experience, like dealing with bullying growing up, having, feeling the pressure of wanting to lighten my skin, those kinds of things. And we translated that into statement t-shirts. Those statement t-shirts became social media campaigns. So now we have like a growing Facebook group, like a community of people trying to own back our morena pride, our skin color, and trying to make, I guess, the Philippines a more friendly place to people who look like me. So we're all about representation and using e-commerce and social media to promote that our empowerment in some ways. So that's what Morena the Label is all about. And what Rashina was telling about what I do a while ago. I'm also a YouTuber, so this is kind of my background. I'm a YouTuber. I'm a TikTok creator. So I guess what I really bring to the table is not so much as analytics or data. It's really storytelling through social media and leveraging on community building. So hopefully I can share with you guys a little bit more about that today. Yeah, so that's about it.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting about this as well is everything that you do is kind of deep rooted in social change. I think what would be really interesting is to hear more about that. So, you experienced this pressure yourself with the skin bleaching, skin whitening. That's something that, as you said, is very big in Asia. I have many friends who are pressured to, get whitening treatments. So I think it'd be interesting to hear more about at which point you decided to start doing something about that and how that morphed into creating the e-commerce brand that you're running at the moment.
Mm-hmm. So at first, it was, of course, me wanting to conform to the beauty standards that we have here, but obviously that was not possible. I've tried all of the products, like skin whitening products, all of those things. None of those really worked. And it just got to a point where my self-esteem was just so low. This was a constant insecurity for me. But I guess one of the biggest changes, or like the turning points for me, was writing my thesis for my senior year in college. So my degree is in English language studies, which is applied linguistics. And I wrote a paper about how it's called Language and Colorism, Beauty Ideologies in Pond's Philippines YouTube Advertisements. So what I did was I analyzed ads for YouTube from skin whitening brands, and kind of had to analyze how we Filipinos use language to maintain colorism. And what I learned about that is we are very, like, we're very proactive. We play a very proactive role in maintaining those beauty standards. And I thought that, okay, if we're maintaining those beauty standards by our conscious decisions with our ads, how we are messaging in the media, then we can also actively, proactively change the way we view skin color and beauty. And maybe, it might take a long time. I'm not as powerful as the skin whitening industry, but that was the beginning for me because I realized that in the age of the internet, we all have a platform, we all have a voice, and if we want to do it ourselves, it's possible to do it ourselves. So after that, I started creating my own YouTube videos about Morena beauty. So it was very simple at first. It was just me sharing products that complemented my skin color. And then after that, I started talking more about colorism. And then I guess a year in, I started Morena the Label. And that's when it became more than just about me and what I know about beauty. It became about our community stories. So, what I loved about having Morena the Label is having all sorts of people from the Philippines, from different parts of the country. We have surfer girls, we have those who are born into Filipino Chinese families who are a little darker than their other lighter skinned family members. So many different stories. But at the end of the day, we were all Filipinos experiencing colorism. And we came together through Morena the Label and all of these like social media conversations. And from there, I guess that's when it started growing. That's when Morena the Label became more than just a brand attached to me as a creator. It was a community on its own.
Um, that's really interesting. And I think that some of the parallels I would draw with a lot of the people who are part of the Ecom Connect community is that many of them do have this kind of deep rooted commitment to social change and to helping people, within that community and also uniting greater communities within their countries. So I think it's really interesting to hear how you went about that. I think it would be really just very helpful for the people in the audience to hear more about, okay, how did you bring the storytelling into it? How did you start kind of weaving this social change angle, which is so dear to you, into all of the things that you do with Morena the Label? And that transition part, I think, would be great to hear more about that too.
Mm-hmm. I think it was, I guess, encouraging people to share their stories. One of the things that we did in our Instagram page is Cuentong Morena, which translates to like Morena stories. So at first, of course, we couldn't really convince people to just share their stories because a lot of them are either shy, a lot of them are either insecure about their skin color or really struggling with it. So there are some morenas who want to be proud about their skin color but can't really share those stories. So we really started with what we had, and honestly during that time all we had was me, like some of my other friends who were confident, and personally I got my confidence from them as well. So like bringing together the people from my circle, anyone that I knew who were willing to share their story, I personally tapped them, reached out, hey, I'm doing this series, can you just answer a few questions, can you share your story, did you ever feel like this, etc. So it started there. It was very small. It was week after week posting or featuring a morena, like a featured morena. And then later on, I guess one of the things that I was really proud of, we did this actually during the quarantine. So because we've been doing this for a couple of years, and because I also have my personal like content creation stuff, every time a brand needs a Morena representative, for some reason they would automatically go to me. And because Morena pride was such a foreign thing concept before, I was one of the few who were talking about it. And because I was actively working with brands, a lot of brands are now open to having these conversations. There are so many like local skincare brands who are open to actually championing darker skin, which is amazing. It's amazing progress. One of the things we did last year, I got in touch with my personal Morena role model. So there's a TV host named Bianca Gonzalez. And when I was a little kid, she was kind of the Morena girl that I looked up to. She was the person I would look at on TV, and she gave me that sense of representation that I now want to present to the next Morena generation. She reached out to me because we've been working on separate Morena projects, and she told me that she was planning to do this Morena event, like it's kind of like this event, just a conversation, bringing Morenas together. And because of that, we were able to bring in like 100 people, and we were just talking about all of our pain points. We also learned from our different experiences, and this was all through social media. This was all through Zoom. It was all through connecting, and we've never even met in person. Like this could have been like a big conference pre-pandemic, but we were really proud because it became more than just captions on. It was actual people sharing actual stories, and we really feel the change. There, people are pushing back on Twitter every time there's a really like a tone deaf ad, like a skin whitening ad that's really tone deaf. Twitter will blow up. People will be talking about it on Instagram, on YouTube. And I feel like the more that we hear about this from other people, whether it's an influencer or just a customer or regular customer, just getting people to talk about this is really empowering because others now know that they're not alone. Like growing up, I thought I was alone. I felt like this was a very personal experience that nobody really dealt with. But now that we're all so vocal about it, progress, I feel like, is much faster.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that is coming from this discussion and just some of the really amazing work that you've done for Morena the Label, but also way, way beyond, is that nowadays, especially because the e-commerce space is so saturated, it's important for brands that really do care about creating social change and do care about impacting the lives of their customers so that they really feel the change, which I love that you said that earlier. They have to actually go beyond just posting something and creating a caption. It's much more about what are the individual stories of the people who are connecting with what we do, and how can we lift them up and give them a stage and create more of a community of actual people sharing their struggles and sharing their experiences. I think that's a really important and really interesting takeaway from this. And I'd love to hear more about also how would you kind of, if you think about some of the people who are part of this platform, a lot of the e-commerce entrepreneurs out there who are maybe in developing countries with their own social issues that may look different to yours, but obviously are also kind of deeply affecting them as well. What suggestions would you give to them based on your experiences with kind of, I guess, combating such a big issue in the country?
I think it's important to always stay. I mean, it's kind of a cliche to say it, but authenticity really does go a long way. Because now for us, for Morena, oh my God, I apologize for my dog. For Morena the Label, more than just revenue, our reach, more than anything, I feel like is significant. And well, yes, we obviously on the business side of stuff, we run Facebook ads. We do, collaborations with influencers. We still sell those products, but more than that, more than just because we're not the only t-shirt brand in the Philippines. There are so many t-shirt brands, so many like Filipino pride t-shirts. Like you can get that anywhere. But the brand stands for more than just clothing. It stands for our experiences. It's honestly really fulfilling because we're a very small team. And so that means that every time an order gets in, I see the orders as well. Sometimes if they request for notes, I would personally write those. So we would get orders of people like wanting to send these shirts to like their cousin who feels insecure about their skin color, and I would have to personally handwrite those notes. And it's amazing to get that we get to be part of that experience. For, for a lot of people it's a t-shirt, but for us, it's for a lot of our customers, it's the first opportunity they've ever had to be proud of their skin color. And to be part of that, like the Morena the Label experience, the community, I think it's good for business, but it's not just business. It's a movement, it's an advocacy, and we're really proud of that. So I think, yeah, I guess getting to know like what your real mission is very important, especially today. I feel like people care about what they're spending their money on. They really care about, and it will show if the brand is not authentic. So, more than just, for example, posting on social media, more than just posting product photos, we also produce content that's educational, like learn more about colorism. Did you know this about, the Philippines? Or so we want to more than just a shopping page. We also want to be a resource page to help our customers, help our community rebuild that confidence, unlearn colorism, and really redefine our beauty standards. And right now we're still small compared to a lot of the self-started brands in the Philippines, but I feel like in the space of beauty and colorism, we really have gone a long way, and, and hopefully we can keep that up. Yeah.
Yeah, this is really interesting, and I definitely agree that so many companies now are just being revealed as inauthentic. I mean, consumers are really paying mind to who are they buying from, what do they represent, what is their mission, and so I think it's really beautiful that you can see that so clearly in Morena the Label and all of the activities that you do. And I think what's also interesting, I was looking through your TikTok account, and for context, everyone, Ayin is also kind of a mini celebrity on TikTok. She has 800,000 followers. And she literally, I think this is so interesting because it's also about the same mission, building confidence, right? So, separate subjects, you're teaching people to speak English based on the things that you've learned. That helps you develop that polish, but that also builds confidence, right? So I think it's interesting that you, as a founder of this e-commerce brand, across all of the initiatives that you're working on, you have this common mission that is very clear. And I think that is what helps people to feel that they're part of a community, they're part of something that's really deeply authentic. And I think that if there's anything that the listeners could take away from this, it is that importance of embodying your real mission, figuring out what that is, and embodying it across all of your endeavors, whether that's your e-commerce brand that you're building and the things that you do within your community, but also the other things that you do. So if you have a podcast, or if you have, a separate account for educational purposes, really using that in a way that creates change within the world and within your communities. That was one of my personal takeaways from your story as well.
The TikTok account is so funny because that was one thing I never planned. I mean, I've been pretty strategic for a lot of the things that I worked on, but the TikTok account that Rashina was talking about, so I have two accounts. The main one is in English, and I talk about motivation and confidence, just like in my other accounts. But my second account is in Tagalog or Filipino, and I teach English in that account. And it ended up overtaking my main account. It now has 800,000 followers, which is crazy because I was like, I've never had that reach, but it kind of just blew up in the last couple of months. And yeah, like what Rashina said, one of the main reasons why it did blow up was because English learning was kind of, it's less intimidating in that page because I explain it in very simple Filipino, and people are encouraged to ask questions. And I guess it's the same philosophy that I follow. Although I did not do it on purpose, I just realize it now looking back that the whole time that I was working on Morena the Label and my Tagalog TikTok account, all of this, the mission was to make information as digestible as possible. So learning and unlearning is much easier. So with Morena the Label, it's making colorism much more understandable from somebody who has known colorism to be the norm their whole life. And the one on TikTok is allowing Filipinos, especially those who don't have access to English learning the way I did, to see English as just another subject, as the same way math is a subject or science is a subject. And it's not something that should be intimidating or should be like a status symbol, which it kind of is in the Philippines. So, yeah, I guess that was that one mission that we have and maybe I have as a founder. And I guess it has made my job easier because I don't need to try. It's just it's something that if you believe in it, using that or implementing that across your projects, I feel feels more natural.
I think that also one of the other kind of takeaways that comes from this is just the importance of entrepreneurs who are building one business and one, let's say it's an e-commerce business in this scenario, actually kind of embodying themselves fully across different things and not being scared. If you're maybe some of the people listening are just starting out with Instagram and they're just starting out with their Facebook page, they're actually not being scared to experiment with new platforms and kind of also make the separation between the brands that you create and also who you are as an entrepreneur and the voice that you have to create change in the world and how the two don't necessarily have to be separate. So I'm sure some of the people who watch you on TikTok then also become aware of unlearning the colorism and become customers at your e-commerce brand. So I really also want to take this opportunity to encourage everyone listening to think about that and think about your mission and how that translates across the board and encourage yourself to try new things as an entrepreneur. It doesn't always have to be under your brand, but actually tying together who you are and the things that you believe in everything that you do and not being afraid of those kind of intertwining at some point or another. I know that we have around 20 minutes left, so I think it would be really interesting if we were also to do a Q&A to give everyone a chance to speak up and to ask you questions directly. So if anyone has a question, I think it'd be great for you to unmute yourself and ask Ayn directly.
I have a question. Ayn, I think what you did really, really well, it's when like you communicate, you have a strong mission, strong values, and you are able to communicate that perfectly from the beginning. And that's how you created an authentic community. And that's what you were mentioning. But I'm also a bit curious about knowing like what was your main obstacle when creating your brand, when selling online? And if you could give us an example and how you overcame it, that would be great, because obviously there are difficulties along the way.
Yeah,
Not everything is easy.
for sure. I think the biggest obstacle that we encountered having such a, I guess, unorthodox like a brand or messaging, because like loving your skin color is not a popular concept in the Philippines. It's like we've been overpowered by skin whitening for so long that it's for a lot of people it's kind of hard to grasp. So it was easy for us to do the organic marketing, sharing our stories. So that was easy because that's just how it is. But with, for example, Facebook ads, doing Facebook ads, it's difficult for us because um, the I've had like problems with the people that we were targeting. For example, I can't control who sees our ads, and oftentimes because I can't really dictate. Okay, let's pick somebody empowered versus somebody who isn't. Um, so sometimes our ads would land in the news feeds of people who feel like having dark skin is laughable. And then they would leave comments that are rude or they would laugh react. They would
Yeah.
laugh at our ads. And that's not really good for business, and it's not good for us as well. Because the whole point of us, being vocal about Morena the Label is we want to remove that stigma. We want to remove that narrative that being brown is something to be ashamed of. But because we can't control our audience through the ads, sometimes we would find that our ads are filled with haha reactions or people laughing about our skin color, which is confusing to me because it's like, what? Did you not understand
Yeah.
the
And
purpose of?
and how
Yeah.
are you reacting to that?
So actually, I needed to get somebody to help me out for this one because I personally did not know how to deal with this. So that's why I kind of held back on pursuing ads because I didn't want our messaging to get distorted. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a Facebook ad specialist who was doing pro bono work for like brands like ours, and I was really lucky to get connected with her. And what I learned was that you know like I learned the importance of taking control of your narrative. For example, like the captions. I used to be like a minimalist caption person, but she really explained to me how important it was to tell our story. Like, even if it's long form, even if not a lot of people will read it, the extra effort to really explain the story, the background of what we do, even if it's just one post, goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is getting other people involved because before I kind of just stuck to my own point of view because I didn't want to get other people because I feel like they might not be comfortable with it. So I would always just create my own captions, my own stories, my own messages. But then getting other people, for example, I don't know if you know Rose from 90 Day Fiance. It's a
No.
TV show. She's famous. She's Filipino. Anyway, so we sent her a shirt and we got her to do like a testimonial for us and getting more people involved, especially people who have influence outside of our community, more mainstream people. That was something that I was kind of resisting for a while. But I realized that by getting people from different areas, getting people from different backgrounds more involved front and center, that really opened up the conversation even more. And so there are people who are not familiar with the whole concept of Morena pride, who are now thinking to themselves, okay, this celebrity is into this, and yeah, maybe she does have a point. So I guess the response now has been better. Also, all the technical stuff of Facebook ads, targeting, that's something that I recently learned more deeply about, I guess. And that has helped me. That has helped us reduce those negative comments. And I feel like now it's easier to communicate our message better, even outside of our community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely collaborating with influencers seems like one of the best techniques right now, more than ads. Yeah.
Especially if it's like a message that you want to share and it's not just like
Mm.
selling. Um, like I think I underestimated how important it is to have like people people with influence talk about the brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? I have lots of questions in case I'm forgetting. But if we have any people in the audience who are listening who want to ask some questions, now is your chance.
Yeah, Karfa, Nancy, Rita, Muthoni, and Firsan, if you want to unmute yourself, please feel free to do that. Or if you have any comment, you want to share any of your experiences with us.
Yeah.
No. doesn't look like.
I will ask you another question then, Ayn.
Yeah.
So I think what's really interesting also about your website is that you intentionally built sustainability into the way that you kind of deliver your products. So to combat overproduction, every time that someone orders a product, you actually just get it made on the spot. I think that's really interesting. I'd like to hear more about what decisions you made earlier on in the process and how that scaled outwards as your brand started to grow. So I guess that would be one of the decisions. And yeah, to hear more about the sustainability angle, and how you would suggest that some of the people listening and some of the people also who are part of the platform would combine the messaging and the storytelling with the actual physical reality of having to create products and, you know, manage the day to day.
So with our operations, we're actually a print on demand business. So we don't have any like crazy inventory on hand. So we just have the t-shirts, like two different colors. It's just black and white. We have the sweatshirts, we have the hoodies, but they're all blank. And what we do is every time somebody places an order and confirms the order or pays for it, that's when we produce the shirts. And right now, our team can still handle the demand. But the reason why I decided to do this, like print on demand, as opposed to ordering in bulk, and then, that would actually simplify a lot of our processes if we could just order in bulk and then distribute the shirts, limit our SKUs, but or limit our designs. But the thing is, so my very first business, actually, I was 15 years old, and it was a t-shirt business too. So what happened there was I sold band t-shirts in school, and uh, I kind of pitched the idea to my dad, and I told him, okay, I will need this much money to get 100 t-shirts printed. I'll sell this in school. I'll pay you back in a month, and that's it. That was like my pitch. But during that experience, I realized that it's difficult when you have like a clothing, when you have clothing when you have to sell different sizes of clothing. For example, like how would I know how many people want small t-shirts, or like extra large t-shirts, double XL, toddler? So that was difficult for me. Also, as a small business owner, I have a lot of designs. So maybe we have around 20 designs, and then you multiply that by like 6 different sizes and then a toddler size. So if we printed every single design on every single size, it would really limit our capacity to serve our customers. And at the same time, it would also lead to a lot of waste, unfortunately. And I didn't want to deal with that problem with inventory, because I've had that happen to me before when I was starting out as a teenager. I had like 50 t-shirts and I didn't know what to do with them. I had 50 extra large t-shirts because nobody bought them. And what happens to those? They go to they're disposed, or it goes to like a thrift store, but who wants to buy those? So they're not good for business, they're not good for the environment, they're not good for anyone really. And because I had that opportunity to decide, since I was just a very small startup, would I invest on a bulk order or do I invest on a printing machine? I decided to invest on a printing machine. And I think it offered us a lot more freedom to experiment with designs, with how much we produce. And it also allowed us to expand for example, our size offerings. A lot of local local stores here in the Philippines are usually free size. So that, I don't know if it's the same case for wherever you guys are, but I feel like that's a problem because Filipino, especially small businesses, we have a lot of free size options, and that essentially means only small to medium sized people get to wear those clothes, and it's not inclusive. I mean, if I'm fighting for inclusivity and skin color, then I should probably have the same, approach when it comes to sizes, right? So in order for me to accommodate a larger size range. So we go from toddler to extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, and double XL. And we're trying to get a supplier for bigger than that, but because we do print on demand, we are able to offer those sizes. And yeah, I guess it's just a what do you call this, like we just need to know what our priorities are, and our priority is being more inclusive. So
yeah, and I think this is an important point also for, you know, kind of e-commerce business owners who want to then also expand to different regions geographically, to be aware of, you know, what typical sizes you might find in those regions, and how to be more inclusive in their approach to selling to regions beyond the one that they're in at the moment. But yeah, that was really interesting. And I also imagine that you would have more space in your mind when you don't have all of that stock to think about.
yeah.
So that was one of my questions. I still want to ask anyone if they have any more questions. Andy, do you have any questions? Mathoni, Rita, Nancy, Karfa?
No, it seems that we have a quiet audience this time.
But let me dive in then. I'm not really a consumer of these products and really quite ignorant. So thank you for explaining this. It's always interesting to find a new perspective. It's a very important perspective, but I think as Rashina has done a good job identifying the takeaways that can be general. I've got one thing on my mind, maybe that it's this week's thing, but he's thinking in a technical way about when you have a range of products, and so you have different ranges of products, and you know, skin color has been an important part of this. So you've got tones, and I suppose you might have you know, grades or whatever. So you've got to come up with a product strategy that is very structured across different dimensions. Was that something you thought about, that you've got a grid of products and shades and colors and thicknesses and whatever? Does that get very complicated? Is that something that troubles you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up. That's actually one of the things that I feel like I'm having struggles with, because I want to be creative with what we put out, but at the same time, because we're considering a lot of different factors, and of course, like we're a bootstrapped business as well, so everything is out of pocket. Um, that's not something that we can be flexible about. So right now we have our, what we can really be more creative about is what we design or like what we put on the shirt. But our base products are their white t-shirts, black t-shirts, sweatshirts. So that's how we kind of get creative. But our main range are more or less the same stuff. So if you look at our inventory, they're all white t-shirts in different sizes, and the variety comes when we print the design. So we have a lot of different designs, but it's always the same white t-shirt. And hopefully we can figure out a way to go about that, because I really want to offer, like, I'm thinking about what if we start producing swimwear? How do I go about that? That's going to be a completely different challenge. It's going to be really difficult. But hopefully, I don't know how we're going to do that, honestly, but that's something that our community is asking for. Like, they want more color, they want more variety, they want more like products, they want makeup. So, you know, these things.
And they're looking for things like, even within a plain white t-shirt, they're looking for different
colors. Yeah.
They're looking for shapes, so they're looking for different cotton sleeves and whatever. And the moment you start offering permutations of things, you start running crazy SKU.
The thing that I guess the most we've done, we've offered this, like, we can personalize the cropping. So a lot of people have been asking for crop tops, but we can't like produce crop tops because it's a completely different SKU. So what we would do is we would like handmade, like we would crop them by hand essentially. And I feel like we will get to a point where it might not be sustainable for us and our manpower, because it's going to be a lot of work. But right now, that's the solution that we've come up with, and so far they're happy. Yeah, so far that's what we've been doing.
Okay.
Thanks, James.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think they're like changing for example, the colors of the t-shirts won't be, I mean, it's an issue because like you mainly use white to really show how, look, your dark skin, right? And to have this contrast. But as long as you are aligned with that goal that you want to highlight this skin color, and you show different, like a different tones, but obviously highlighting this color, it would be fine, I guess. And
yeah.
So we actually have to wrap up soon, but this was really interesting. Ayn, thank you so much for being here. And I'm sure this has been so helpful for everyone listening, and also for all of the people who are going to be listening on the platform. It's just been super, super insightful. So thank you again for being here. And yeah, I hope that everyone can take away something from your story. It was such a powerful, powerful story. And I think just personally for me, I think that what you've shared today is really just kind of a really big reminder of the importance of truly being yourself and embodying the change that you want to see in the world and even bring to your customers in everything that you do, and to be very much experimental about kind of connecting with people and bringing that change, you know, into your own hands. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me. I had fun talking to you guys. Thank you so much.
thank you so much. Have a good day, everyone.
Have a good night.
A good night in the Philippines. True.
Meanwhile.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Hein.
guys.